If you're going to try and change an adult's mind, then you're going to have to go better prepared, aren't you? You can't use logical fallacies, you can't use gaslighting, you can't use emotional blackmail, you can't do any of that. You have to come with facts. And because you know you're not equipped with said facts, you have to target the most vulnerable people. So you're targeting children because they don't understand the world yet. Hello, you wonderful people. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, I just want to say two things. One, why aren't you subscribed yet? I mean, you're slacking, aren't you? And two, I just want to quickly highlight why I make these Madness from Libs of TikTok videos, because I had a little epiphany the other day. I've just turned 31 a couple of weeks ago. So I've now been around for around 1 billion seconds. And I'm starting to get a bit more mature, but I'm still, obviously, men never grow up. We just turn into big boys. Like, I still play with toys and stuff. Like, I still play computer games and that. I'll never grow up. But it got me thinking, what is the average age of the TikTok user? Because now, like, when your birthday comes around, you think of ages and how old you are and stuff. Just what your brain does. So I looked at this, and 25% of US TikTok users are from 10 to 19 years old. Kids. 25% are kids, right? And I thought, oh, that's just a figure. So I looked at some charts. I found some charts. 19 years old or younger, 25%. 29 or younger, about 25%. 22.4%. So this is why I make these videos, because it's kids that are watching this. You might be an adult watching this, looking at it with me thinking, what the hell are these people doing? But the main audience that's consuming it firsthand is children. This is being put on TikTok, shown to children. Libs of TikTok is finding it. Rob is right, he's making a compilation, and I'm responding to it. But the primary audience are children. But anyway, yeah, let's get into it. See you soon. And here we go. We're actually going to watch them now. Thanks for sticking around.
And Fred is the name that fits me best. And I also use they and them because calling me a she or a he doesn't feel right to me.
I'm sorry I used the wrong name and pronouns.
Transgender kids is a real...
You see, they're coming for children. If you've got a political ideology that you wish to express, or you wish to actually take shape in the world, right? If you've got this political ideology, you try and convince other adults of your beliefs. You try and convince other adults. So you wait until a human being has developed and grown a sense of critical thinking and a rational mind, then you put your ideas to them. If you are trying to convince somebody of an idea before they have got all of their cognitive faculties in place, you are deliberately being disingenuous. You are deliberately targeting somebody that cannot understand your point and trying to manipulate them and brainwash them into accepting your point without understanding it. This is why you're aiming for children, because if your ideology was valid and true and if everything was okay, you'd be trying to convince adults that it was true and okay, because we should be able to see what you can see. But you really know that what you're doing is wrong. You know that you're coming for children. So you're trying to play all these games of smoke and mirrors and putting charades and guides over the top of yourself to distract from what's really happening. I can see it clear as day, and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep putting you guys on blast, because you should not be coming for children.
Really harder thing. What's going on in Florida is, as my mother would say, close to sinful. I mean, it's just terrible what they're doing. It's not like, you know, a kid wakes up one morning and says, you know, I decided I want to become a man, or I want to become a woman, or I want to change. I mean, what are they thinking about here? They're human beings. They love, they have feelings, they have inclinations that are, I mean, it just, to me, is, I don't know, it's cruel. And the way we do it is we make sure we pass legislation like we passed on same-sex marriage. You mess with that, you're breaking the law, and you're going to be held accountable.
I would just like to say, Sleepy Joe, that your argument for transing children is the fact that they're human. So they're human, they've got feelings, they're distressed, right? Can humans be incorrect? Can humans make mistakes? Can humans believe something that's true that isn't true and live their life in delusion? Yes. So being human isn't an excuse for doing it to them. Being human is the reason they feel that way. Yes, that's a given. But to say that, oh, they're human, so we have to let them do it. No, we don't. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't stop children doing anything. We'd let them touch hot things. We'd let them stick forks in plug sockets. We'd let them have sex at 10. We'd let them do everything. Yeah, they're human, but they're also idiots. They're children. They don't understand what's going on. So to say that it's a sin and it's cruel to not do something that's harmful, to me, is just completely illogical. It doesn't make any sense at all. But it's Joe Biden. I mean, I'm sorry if you voted for him. I really am.
Who wants to have a conversation about puberty blockers? Doesn't matter, I'm already going for it. So, puberty blockers are just super active versions of the gonadotropin releasing chemicals we already have in our bodies. Chemicals are also called GnRH. The way these chemicals work is they turn on a part of our pituitary gland, which in turn tells the body to start puberty. Now, when someone's given hormone blockers, basically what it does is it floods the pituitary gland with the chemicals that it's already producing, which in turn causes it to shut down and pause puberty temporarily. When hormone blockers are removed, puberty resumes. The effects are currently understood to be 100% reversible. Hormone blockers are not permanent, they are not chemical castration, they don't cause bone damage, I saw that somewhere, and they're also not being forced on kids. They do lower suicidal ideations and mental health problems in trans kids though.
You've got no proof of that claim. The suicidal ideation amongst trans people remains pretty much the same. It doesn't go down. It doesn't go down. So saying that transing somebody will stop them killing themselves is a fallacy. It's a dangerous talking point. You shouldn't even we're going into very, very dark, dangerous territory here. So basically, if I summarise your claim, puberty blockers are okay because it'll stop a kid killing themselves. That's what your claim is. No.
With all the controversy surrounding children and drag queens these days, I thought I would go undercover and take our girls to a drag show and see what kind of horrible trauma they endure. So obviously I had to dress the part and go incognito. So I basically wore all this sparkly stuff, even...
I don't know how I feel about this because you took your kids to a drag show. I don't care if you're fucking conservative or not. That's a problem. Even if you were doing it as an experiment. What the fuck, man? That's like... Oh my God, this is like the argument for the film Cuties. Oh, but Cuties is highlighting that children are sexualized. So we thought we'd highlight it by sexualizing real children. Like, how fucking stupid do you have to be to understand that you can't put a fire out with gasoline? How stupid do you need to be to not understand that? But this, I don't get this. She's brave for doing it, but bravery and stupidity are cousins.
My ears to match. I brought some dollar bills to throw their way. I thought that these people were protesting and I was like, yes, get it. But they weren't actually. If you want to get mad, this is the restaurant that we went to. It's in Oakville on Kerr Street. We met a friend there who was going to serve as an ally. We made sure to dress the girls up to match the part because they had to really fit in as well. I had to have a drink to be able to get through it because honestly, I wasn't even sure that I was going to be able to pull it off. Anyway, the first queen came out and how dare she look like that? Like, I mean, if I were to wear that outfit, it would definitely look good, but definitely not on her. Anyway, so the food was good, at least, because the show was kind of whack. I mean, look at this. Look at the moves. Look at everything. We had the girls give some tips because obviously we had to immerse them in the whole experience so we could document the trauma afterward. The queens even brought them up to do like...
I put my child in a position and filmed it so I could document the trauma I've just induced upon my child. Oh, this is why I say I'm central, because there's retards on both sides. How is this a good idea in any way, shape or form? Right, there's a building where children get abused. Quick, get the kids ready. We'll film it.
Like a special little dance competition with another little girl that was there, that poor little girl. And how dare they put sparkles on the girls, making them feel all sparkly and shiny and part of the show. Just not cool. So here they are getting ready for their dance competition. They did a dance to Baby Shark. Ugh, Baby Shark is so like last year. And they danced around, but they will never get over this later. They'll carry this trauma with them their entire lives. They're the queen dancing around in a circle with them, giving them hugs, and even stealing flowers from our children. I mean, you can tell they hated it, so we'll definitely try church next Sunday instead.
They're going to carry this trauma for the rest of their life, and I'm a proud mother that made it happen. Jesus, these people need God. These people need God.
Good evening. Thank you as always for your kindness and for your insights. So which books do I remove from my Florida high school classroom? Because today after school we had a faculty meeting and we learned that our media specialist has to inventory every single book in our classroom, whether it's a textbook, whether it's any other book we might have in a personal library for our student use. every single book. Because last year under House Bill 1467, it requires now that every single book in our classroom be inventoried by our media specialists to make sure that no titles contain pornography, that they contain any references to gender identity, to sexual orientation, and of course, to race-based teaching. Now let that sink in for a second, because now I have a choice to make. I have 3 8-foot-tall bookshelves in my classroom with subjects ranging from world religions to general nonfiction. I have an entire section of African American history. I have all of American history range from the beginning all the way to the present. I have a bookshelf of nothing but classics, mass and trade size paperbacks. So now do I go through all of my textbooks and decide, do I want to risk this book coming into the crosshairs of Moms for Liberty? Because all these textbook inventories, they'll now be shared with the public. And that's exactly what Governor DeSantis wants. He wants Moms for Liberty and other groups like that to scrutinize teachers like me, because the consequences of violating that state law are a 3rd-degree felony. So my friends, please be aware of what's happening here in Florida. It's come to my high school. It's come to every school in Pinellas County. It's coming to every school in the state of Florida. And when it comes to your state, be warned, because you have to understand, the purpose of this is one thing: to intimidate teachers like me from actually teaching the real history of our country. So now I have to decide, do I risk a lawsuit? Do I risk a 3rd-degree felony? Or do I stand up to this and actually proudly display all the books in my classroom, most of which have been there for 10 or 15 years? I just want you to be aware of what's happening in the state of Florida right now, friends. We're standing, we're fighting, we're defending our students, we're defending our public schools, because our public schools are the foundation of our democracy. You guys be well and have a great rest of your week.
Right, so the problem here is, he listed all of the problems. Like, the book shouldn't contain anything about gender ideology, they shouldn't contain anything sexual, anything pornographic, and anything that's race-based. So, CRT. It doesn't mean that you can't teach about Mrs. Tubman. It doesn't mean that you can't teach about Mr. King. It doesn't mean that you can't do, like, Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves. That's American history. It's got nothing to do with race. It's history that's, like, race is sprinkled in, right? But critical race theory, teaching a white child that they are an oppressor and teaching a black child that they are the oppressed when they're both 5 and they haven't even lived a life yet, is wrong. So what I would do here is I will issue a challenge to all of these teachers that are crying that something's wrong, right? Give me a list of books that you believe should be in classrooms that have been banned, right? Just provide that list. So if you provide me a list of the Shakespearean classics like Caesar and Hamlet, right, I'll agree with you. They shouldn't be removed from classrooms. But if you're talking about the sexual pornographic stuff where kids are learning how to perform fellatio and cunnilingus, that's wrong. So you provide me a list of books which you believe shouldn't be banned, that have been banned, and I'll go through that list and I will personally FaceTime you, my guy, and I will tell you why each of these books is problematic. Because you've just made a point about these books not being allowed in school, but none of the books should be in a school. Do you think that sexual orientation, pornography, gender ideology, and critical race theory should be taught? And if you think it should be taught, you're the one with the problem. This is madness. This is pure madness. And the reason that it's being published to parents is so parents can see what propaganda is being put in their children's brains. If a child comes home and says they're non-binary because the teacher's convinced them of it, and the parent finds out that the teacher's using non-binary propaganda books, yeah, you've got a problem, because you shouldn't have been doing that.
I want to talk to all the trans kids for a second. So if you're a trans kid, get comfortable for a couple minutes, and if you're the parent of a trans kid, then, bring them over to the phone or bring the phone over to them, whatever works. Hi, I'm James. My pronouns are they, she. And I think a lot of you knew that because a lot of you were commenting on my last video about how scared you are. And I want to talk. As you know, I'm a non-binary person. I'm 27 years old. I came out, I think 4 years ago. I was 22, 23. But I've known my whole life that I was non-binary. I've always known I wasn't a boy and I wasn't a girl. And
you don't know this. You believe this. Knowing and believing are 2 separate things, right? Knowing and believing are 2 separate things. Now, what you meant to say there was, you believe that you are non-binary because you believe that non-binary is a thing. That's what you're saying. You don't know you're non-binary. You think you're non-binary. You believe it, but there's nothing to know. You can't empirically prove this. It's not knowing, it's feeling. And feeling and knowing are not the same.
When I was growing up, it was really confusing because we didn't have the words to talk about that.
And the reason that you don't have the words to talk about it when you're growing up is because you grew up as a child. And we don't talk to children about sexual things. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to introduce sexual terms into a children's vocabulary. That's what you're trying to do. So you're trying to sexualize children online, which is a crime.
And nowadays, we do have the words to talk about it. And I'm so excited to see how many of you are publicly queer and trans and accepting yourselves and have trans friends and communities where you can be who you are, because that's so important. And I wish I had that when I was growing up, but I have it now. So, you know, it got better in the long run, I guess. But there are a lot of people, especially politicians and powerful people, that are talking about us and specifically talking about you and your rights to your body and your right to transition.
I'm not saying you don't have the right. You do whatever the fuck you want to do. I'm just saying I believe you're incorrect. I believe you're incorrect. I don't know you're incorrect, but I believe you're incorrect. And if your belief is valid, so's mine.
And they're weaponizing you and politicizing you, and it's hateful and it's wrong. And you probably talk to your parents about it, or maybe your friends. And I know sometimes you DM me about it, and I read them, as many as I can. And I just want you to know that I love you.
A strange man online talking to children via DMs and telling them he loves them over the internet. He doesn't seem like a creep at all. Seems like a perfectly well-balanced, rational human being.
And there are tons of people. Can
I just say, right, if a child messaged me, even if one of you guys messaged me and I found out that you were like, I'm 31, if I found that you're belief 20, I don't even think we could hold a conversation. I really don't think we could hold a conversation. You would need to be an incredibly mature 19-year-old to keep up with me in a conversation. You really would. Like, yeah, lit, brah. Like, you wouldn't be able to do that shit to me. It just wouldn't fly. I don't suffer fools lightly. And if you're a fool, I wouldn't suffer you.
There are 400,000 people just on this corner of the internet that love you and are going to fight for you and are not going to let you be a political ping pong ball as much as we can help it. And these people that want to take away your rights to be who you are, they are scary. And I'm scared too. I would be lying if I told you I wasn't scared. But the reason they want to take away our rights to be who we are is because they are scared. Because they see our joy and our self-acceptance and our beauty as a threat. Because we celebrate who we are. And no matter how bad this gets, because it might get worse, it might get harder. I would be lying to you if I told you that it wouldn't. I want to be honest with you the way that people were not honest with me. It might get worse, but that's because there are more of us now. And there are more people that are publicly trans and demanding for the world to change and demanding that we are loved and celebrated for who we are. And so in the moments where it feels like it's too much, or you feel overwhelmed, or you feel really, really down, remember that your celebration of who you are and your joy, our joy at being trans, is our biggest tool for resistance.
This is just a load of rubbish. It's a load of absolute rubbish. So the fact that I see what you do as harmful to you means I'm scared of you. The fact that I think dismembering and mutilating children and pumping them full of hormones is a bad thing makes me scared of you. Like, it sounds like a very narcissistic thing to believe that you have this much power and sway. I am not scared of you in the slightest. There is nothing you could do to make me experience fear, spiritually, emotionally, or physically. There is nothing you could do to me that would make me scared of you, right? So to believe that sort of shows me how trumped up you are in your own pomposity. Like, oh, they're scared of me because I'm making these demands. No, I just think you're ridiculous, and I'm dishing out ridicule. That's what I think it is. It's got nothing to do with fear. But let's hear Rob say how problematic it is.
As long as we have joy for who we are, they will never win. I love you.
That's problematic!
Indeed it is, Rob. Indeed it is. It's always the children. This is the thing. I would love to see a trans activist trying to convince adults, because then I might be able to take them seriously. I mean, if you're going to try and change an adult's mind, and because adults run the world, children don't. If you're going to try and change an adult's mind, then you're going to have to go better prepared, aren't you? You can't use logical fallacies, you can't use gaslighting, you can't use emotional blackmail, you can't do any of that. You have to come with facts. And because you know you're not equipped with said facts, you have to target the most vulnerable people. So you're targeting children because they don't understand the world yet. If you think I can't see you doing this, you are wrong, and I am not going to stop. Peace.